What is better, to be born good or to overcome your evil nature through great effort?
How about neither? Baldur's Gate 3 is a dating simulator where you try to amass a polycule of like-minded sex pests so that you can resolve each other's trauma. It is a game where bisexuality isn't just encouraged, it's required. And with the addition of Honor Mode, this game goes from dating simulator to Pain Olympics. From grinder to grind her. No, that's all I got. This difficulty makes it so you only have one save file. This means two things. One, you can no longer 51st date Shadowheart until she loves you, and two, if you die in the game, you die for real. In the game. When death is only one bad dialogue choice away, it leaves no room for role-playing, but I'ma do it anyway. I would literally do anything this bipolar elf told me to do. Armed with a room temperature IQ and a Fogelbite of Baldur's Gate 3 fan art, can I beat Honor Mode while battling my dark urges for bloodshed and homoerotic vampire love? First, I need to make a character.
Who are you?
Now, there is a primal, deep-seated desire when making a character for a YouTube video to make them a horrifying monstrosity. However, in Baldur's Gate 3, if you make a character who doesn't look like they are mewing in every cutscene, your hard drive will explode, and Sven from Larian Studios will personally come to your house and make you a single mother. It is my genuine belief that if you would not do the reverse Saloonite with your character, you are playing this game wrong. For my class, I'm a bard. Playing a bard in Baldur's Gate 3 is like what every guy in their 20s thinks life will be like when they learn to play the guitar. My character's alignment, horny evil. Similar to that of a college frat boy, he will do or say whatever is either funniest, or will get his companions to sleep with him.
Try not to dream about tying me up.
This is also going to be a Dark Urge playthrough. Now, I don't really know what this means. Supposedly, I randomly black out and commit horrifying acts of violence. Sounds like a regular Friday night, am I right, fellas? Right? Finally, the most difficult decision. What kind of dick do I want? Believe it or not, this will have major story impacts. After careful research, I went with E. My journey starts out with a cutscene where I have been drugged and kidnapped by humanoid tentacle monsters. You know what they say, one drow's abduction is another drow's fantasy. Not mine though, I need to get off this ship. Immediately, I reach my hand into a pool of hypervirile tadpoles, causing an explosion. It is very possible that I am too stupid for Honor Mode. Through the flesh door, and there is a man strapped in a chair where his brain has been infected by a talking parasite. I fail a roll to perform DIY brain surgery in order to domesticate the creature.
There were no signs that John was having any problems.
Through another door, and it's revealed I'm actually in downtown Los Angeles, where a homeless woman stalks me like prey, armed with a used needle. She performs amphetamine-fueled acrobatics and reveals herself to be Lae'zel. Together, we proceed further into the ship, where we come across a Hot Topic employee trapped in a forced normalization pod, designed to make her a functioning member of society. She explains the pod makes her create motivational home signs while the Atomic Habits audiobook plays in the background.
The fate of British cycling changed one day in 2003.
Truly inhumane. Out of the pod, Shadowheart says I keep dangerous company. I ask her if she's racist. She says that Lae'zel's people are the real racists. Truly a magical world. Through yet another butt door, and Lae'zel stops the party to call Shadowheart what I can only assume is a racial slur.
Kanyank.
On the deck of the ship, a mind flayer instructs me to reach the steering wheel so that we can find a place to park. I fight my way through Bay Area pedestrians and reach the wheel. Looks like I'm going to have to parallel park. It's going to be a bumpy ride, and there will be casualties. I wake up on the beach, severely concussed. I must have hit the curb trying to back up and was flung from my car as a result. I begin to loot the bodies of those who unfortunately perished in the tragic parallel parking incident. Never forget. Unfortunately, my character begins another Dexter monologue.
Tonight's the night, tonight's the night, tonight's the night, tonight's the night.
After passing an intelligence check, I learn there may be some skeletons in my closet. Metaphorical skeletons, right? On to the next body, and my heart skips a beat. It's Shadowheart. I'm terrified for a moment that my lack of fine motor skills when parking may have resulted in the woman of my dreams being killed. Fortunately, she's alive. In the wreckage, we encounter an injured Mind Flayer. He tries to use the tadpole to gaslight me into thinking that I am in love with him. I swiftly take him out before Shadowheart catches on to my plans. Up the road, I meet Astarion, who immediately pulls a knife on me. We bond over our shared love of the 2016 film La La Land, and he joins my party. Now, I know what you are thinking. Aren't you worried that if you let another flamboyant twink with a lust for power join you, that one day he may grow more powerful than you and usurp your control of the group? You weren't thinking that? Okay, never mind. Further along the pass, a man reaches his hand out of a magical portal. When I fantasize about hacking it off, I black out, and when I come to, Gale's severed hand lies on the ground. Now, before we go assigning blame, who's to say who chopped off Gale's hand? I didn't see it. You didn't see it. Let's just move along. I stumble across Lae'zel next, who has been encaged by two tieflings. These tieflings immediately draw their weapons at me. Ancient Chinese philosophers would call what happened next fucking around and finding out. While looking for more corpses to loot, we stumble upon a minor skirmish in the race war between tieflings and goblins. The battle is over swiftly, with Shadowheart indulging a fan by commanding them to grovel for her. I ask a goblin whether his mother, quote, sexed a plague rat, and as usual, Lae'zel does most of the actual work. I did forget to mention, but on the ship, I stole a flaming sword from a demon, and it is wildly powerful for our level. After looting the goblins, I enter the Emerald Grove, where I watch a man named Aridin knock a devil out cold. Once Zevlor wakes up from his hate crime-induced coma, he explains the internal politics of the Grove to me. Basically, there are three groups: the Tiefling refugees, who are sheltering in the Emerald Grove, the Druids, who want the Tieflings gone because they are placing too great a strain on social services, and the Goblins, who have been whipped into a frenzy through one of life's great pleasures, religious fundamentalism. Zevlor asks me to help him smooth things over with the Druid leader, otherwise the Tieflings will be kicked out of the Grove and killed by the Goblins on their way to Baldur's Gate 3. Unfortunately for Zevlor, this is a sandbox game, and helping him sounds boring. He does tell me of a healer named Nettie who may be able to help me remove my brainworm. In the Grove, I acquire a collection of dyes and a frumpy red hat. I believe the kids would call this serving cunt. Don't worry, I can say it. My cousin is a College of Glamour bard. I talk to an old woman named Auntie Ethel who tells me that I look like shit and gives me a potion. She says if I'm ever in the neighborhood, I should come have tea with her. At least someone in this hellhole has a kind heart. Deeper into the Grove, I encounter an aspiring bard named Alfira. I hear her begin to strum the first few chords to Oasis's Wonderwall and simply can't stand idly by. While fleeing from my act of vandalism, another bard named Volo attempts to flag me down. Similar to a homeless person or a tiger, if you don't make eye contact and keep walking at a brisk pace, they shouldn't be dangerous. Inside the Enclave, the leader of the Druids is deciding on a punishment for a tiefling girl. This girl, Arabella, was caught trying to steal the vegan's most holy idol. Unfortunately, when Arabella tries to escape, a poisonous snake bites her. I just don't understand why she chose to run, why she would put her life on the line with so much at stake. It's truly terrible.
The death of a child, a timeless tragedy that never grows old.
Do you get it? Because a dead kid never grows old? Because they're dead? At last, I find the healer Nettie. She tells me to wait patiently while she heals a bird. I inform her that unless she wants to be a timeless tragedy that never grows even older, she should get a move on. Together, we go into Nettie's chambers so she can help me. Now, I would liken Nettie to my teammates in hit game League of Legends. Let me explain. At the start, you believe that you are both working together towards a common goal. However, when that goal seems even slightly out of reach, they tell you to kill yourself. In Nettie's case, she tells me she can't cure me and gives me a vial of wyvern poison to drink. What Nettie doesn't know is that unlike my teammates in League, I can enact extreme physical violence against her. I also kill her bird. I don't know how this relates to my metaphor, it just seemed funny. After this, Astarion uses his stealth ability to steal everything that isn't nailed down. Now, some people would call this theft. Me and my homies, however, call it wealth redistribution, taking from the heterosexual furry proletariat proletariat and giving back to us working class bisexuals. Robin Hood? Nah, I'm Robin the Hood. Jesus Christ, cut that last one out of the video. Among the things Astarion steals is a note to Kaga telling her to meet them at the docks. Now, who Kaga does or doesn't meet alone at 3 in a truck stop restroom is quite frankly none of my business. The next day, we are in the mood for a little grave robbing. Guarding these ancient ruins is a gnome named Grimblebach. I successfully convince him that I am a ride he would not survive, and he scurries away. At the locked door, I do an impersonation of Grimblebach for one of his men and am let in.
I'm a gnome, and you've been gnomed.
Further into the ruins, and we encounter a fairly sizable party of looters. For someone of median intelligence, this shouldn't be too hard of a fight. However, for me, this almost ended the run. First, I noticed they are close to a barrel of oil. For those unaware, fire plus oil equals... So I do basically nothing on my turn so that when they have to move forward on their turn, I would just need to shoot some fire. However, I underestimated just how badly they would mess me up during their turn. On my next turn though, I can just shoot fire at the oil. You'll notice in the recording I toggle the HUD off. Needless to say, I was banking on this doing a lot more than 2 damage. What it does do is allow Hasid, the enemy barbarian, to dip his weapon in fire. An archer then shoots me in the face, causing me to go down. On Astarion's turn, this door slams shut in front of him, causing him to have to use his entire turn to turn a lever so that he can actually do things. Being the only person in my party that is even remotely competent, Lae'zel runs in, cleaves 2 enemies, and strikes 1 down. In a stunning display of my lack of pattern recognition, I forgot to move Astarion forward, so he spends yet another turn pulling a lever to open a door. Lae'zel chops a mage in half. Astarion performs a sneak attack on the rampaging barbarian, dealing a whopping 4 damage. My character, who has been on the ground this entire fight, fails another saving throw and dies. No worries though, Shadowheart has a revive scroll. Unfortunately, I cast the Scroll of Detect Thoughts instead. At this point, you may be thinking that I am doing all of this just to make the video more entertaining. However, I promise this level of incompetence simply cannot be faked. Astarion performs a sneak attack for 3 damage. I say again, a sneak attack for 3 damage before being shot in the face and downed. With everything seeming bleak, Shadowheart shoots a fireball, killing the barbarian, and a 1 health Lae'zel finishes off the archer. They say that Napoleon wanted to be like Caesar, Caesar wanted to be like Alexander, Alexander wanted to be like Achilles, and Achilles was like, as long as I'm not that guy. Anyways, this fight gives me enough experience to hit level 3. As a level 3 bard, I have a difficult decision to make. I could get a liberal arts degree, or go to cosmetology school, or I could... But why would I want to go into debt for a useless piece of paper when I could make 80K straight out of high school? That's right, we're going to trade school.
Hands, brother. You got soft hands.
As a College of Swords bard, they don't care about my 8 intelligence. All that matters is how high my cholesterol is, how much I pay every month in child support, and how high the lift on my 10% APR Ford F-150 is. Further into the ruins, we begin the real grave robbing. After beating some skeletons, we get to the most ornate tomb in the whole place, surely guarding some great treasure. Upon opening it, I am greeted by a 2028 presidential candidate named Withers. He says that we will meet again at the proper time and place and then disappears. Ooh, how cryptic. I wonder if he will show up at some point later on in the game, and never mind, he's at my camp. Now, apart from being a prolific yapper, he is also quite useful. In exchange for 100 gold, he will respec my characters. Astarion is now an alcoholic, Shadowheart is now even edgier, and also a useful subclass, and Lae'zel, well, she's perfect the way she is. The following day, we are exploring, as a D&D party does, when we are almost ambushed by a pack of goblins. However, once the goblins see that I am a drow, one of the superior races, they apologize and beg for me not to kill them. In the Blighted Village, I come across a group of 3 trolls scheming to avoid Tolkien copyright infringement. They explain that they are private contractors for the religious cult that has overtaken the goblins.
I am, by all accounts, a student of higher commerce and extortion.
I'm an econ major too, small world. I persuade them to fight for me, and am given a horn that will allow me to summon the 3 trolls one time. At the outskirts of the goblin camp, my mind begins to go blank. The brainworm vibrates in my skull. My vision blurs with strange images. I see a dead bear in a faraway forest, an old man speaking to 2 crows. The old man catches a grasshopper in his fingers, but I am the grasshopper, trapped between the roided fingers of the man. I snap back to reality. Shadowheart wields an artifact that pushes the delusions away. The visions are gone, but I am not the same. Even if they were just illusions, the mental scarring is real. But you know what they say, senseless violence heals all wounds. The developers of the game simply can't put a gnome on a windmill with a lever called release and expect me not to pull it. Outside of a barn, we hear a strange, rhythmic grunting noise. Maybe someone's in danger. I burst open the door. Game of the year, folks. Game of the year. I tell them I would like to write smut based on this, and roll a 19 to convince them to keep going. But unfortunately, the mood has been thoroughly ruined. Instead, I turn them into experience points. Across a bridge, I stumble upon a grotesque scene. The body of an innocent hyena is being used as a birthing pod for a pit bull. Truly beautiful. I fight through the dogs until I reach their leader, Princess. Princess runs towards me. Somewhere in the distance, I hear her owner yell, "Don't worry, she wouldn't hurt a fly." In an instant, me and Princess's minds lock together. She too has a brainworm. I use my bardic skills to tell her a joke. Anything to prevent my imminent death. Upon hearing the punchline, all the gnolls begin to laugh. They laugh so hard they are incapacitated for 2 turns. We go to work, quickly finishing off the rest until only Princess remains. When she comes to, her mind is clouded. She begins to see each of us as ripe toddlers. In a frenzy, she strikes me down in a single turn. For the rest of the fight, each turn, Princess chooses one of us to 200 pump. We then throw a health potion at that person while the others do small amounts of damage. After a while, Princess is vanquished and her brainworm is now in my possession. Bloodied and battered, we go to camp for the night. But when we go to sleep, we begin to feel it. Our transformation into mind flayers has begun. Maybe Nettie was right. Just when all seems hopeless, I see him, my dream guardian. He explains he's been there all along. On the day of the tragic parallel parking incident, never forget, he saved me when I was flung from my car, and now he saves me again, preventing me from being turned into a mind flayer. He explains that I must learn to harness the power of the brainworm. So, in the morning, I eat all the tadpoles I have collected so far in my adventure, and I feel good. I feel powerful. I feel like I have an additional 10 hit points once per short rest. The next day, we find a village on fire. A guard explains that someone named Counselor Floric is trapped inside the burning building. I loot all the food from the kitchen and begrudgingly save Floric. You can tell she has a high-level position in Baldur's Gate because of her visible thong. She yaps and asks me to do some hero stuff related to Will's story, but I am simply not interested. That night at camp, the bard whose loot I smashed is waiting. She says she just wants to stay there for one night and will be gone. I reluctantly agree and go to bed, but I suddenly wake up, standing above the dead body of Alfira, my hands covered in blood. Now I know this looks pretty bad, but let's do an investigation first.
There are dozens and dozens of wounds on the corpse. The killer did not stop savaging it, even when she was long gone. And your dominant arm aches. It aches from stabbing over and over.
Okay, all we know is I was there and my stabbing arm aches, but I use my stabbing arm for lots of stuff besides stabbing. It's also my pushing arm. Maybe I tried to shove the killer away and got my hand bloody in the process before blacking out because of how scared I was. Regardless, I washed my hands and went to bed. In the morning, the fun police arrive and asked me if I killed Alfira. I lie and say that a boar ran through camp and gored her. The people I'm traveling with are stupid. Now, as much as I would like to continue wandering aimlessly, doing indiscriminate violence, this video is getting kind of long. I think it's time to actually progress on the main story. Now, before we choose a side in the race war, I think it's important to hear what the other side has to say. Immediately, I noticed that the goblins may be more my speed. The goblins are also very tolerant of other lifestyles. As an example, me and this guy engage in a tasteful amount of BDSM in broad daylight. Through another door, and that's when I see her. Decades later, when our grandchildren ask how we met, I will tell them about how their grandmother promised me crazy drow sex if I helped her slaughter the tieflings. After telling Menthol where the Emerald Grove is, I have chosen a side in the race war. There is just one issue. Minthara is going to go to the Emerald Grove and wait for me. The other two leaders of the goblins, Priestess Gut and Dror Ragzlin, are going to sit at camp and do nothing. What's the issue with that? Well, I have recently gotten a taste of the Lovecraftian power that comes with early stage seramorphosis, and I want more. How do I get more? By killing true souls and eating their brainworms. Now, something interesting about siding with Minthara is that once she leaves the goblin camp, Priestess Gut and Dror Ragzlin don't really serve any purpose in the story. So, if they were to be tragically taken before their time, no one would really know or care. My first target is Dror Ragzlin. Now, on honor mode especially, he hits like a truck. So my strategy is to keep him CC'd while we take out the people around him. I have Shadowheart start the fight by casting Hold Person. Unfortunately, this fails. No worries, try again. Okay, concerning. I have my character give it a shot, and on the third try, he is successfully paralyzed. We take out some of these smaller threats. Lae'zel pushes a guy into a pit of spiders, and things are looking pretty good. Booyog Not, beautiful name, bangs a drum which summons even more goblins to the fight. An archer shoots a fire arrow at us that does a fair amount of damage, but nothing too concerning. However, the fire arrow does break my concentration on the Hold Person spell I cast on Dror Ragzlin. Put another way, the juice is loose. Dror Ragzlin channels his sexual frustration and does 95 damage to Astarion. Needless to say, his twinkish frame was not built to handle such violent penetrations. He then jumps to Shadowheart and takes away half of her health too. A warlock then casts Hold Person on Lae'zel. This is especially bad because if you've been paying attention, you'll have noticed that Lae'zel does most of the actual fighting / adventuring / work. The rest of us are mostly just here to sulk and occasionally have sex with each other. A goblin then critically strikes Lae'zel. Don't worry though, it didn't break her Hold Person spell. Somehow. It is at this point that I begin to grow concerned and remember that I'm actually playing on honor mode. If I die, the game is over. No YouTube video, do not pass go, do not collect 10 views. Me and Shadowheart then both get big crits on Dror Ragzlin. Okay, maybe this is doable. Okay, this is not doable. At this point, I am not concerned. I'm panicking. Everyone other than me is downed. 15 hit points separate my 20 or so hours of playtime from being flushed down the drain. But bravery isn't the absence of fear, but the action in the face of fear. So I frantically search my inventory for a potion or a scroll that will help me scurry away. And I find it, a potion of speed giving me an additional action and double movement speed. I chug it and run. Once I'm far enough away, I flee from combat and teleport back to camp. That could have gone better. Now I am safe, but all of my companions have been locked in jail. Content restrictions prevent me from describing what would happen to someone like Astarion in the warg pens. When I try to go to sleep to recover my strength, I am troubled by my dark urges. I decide to take a walk to clear my head. When I see a goblin sneaking up on me, my heart drops. Dror Ragzlin must have found me. To my delight, however, this goblin introduces himself as Sceleritus Fell, my loyal and ever-adoring butler. He proceeds to glaze me for killing Alfira and refers to me as his lordly reprobate, which I won't lie is kinda hard.
My, we will be reintroducing necrophilia to your schedule in no time.
Wait, reintroducing? He gives me a cool cloak and tells me to be true to myself. Now, do I trust him? Not really. But do I like knowing that in my past life I had a demon goblin butler? Absolutely. In the morning, it's time for a little prison break. Astarion picks the lock to their cells, and they make quick work of the goblin guards. After the fight, this bear that we freed shapeshifts and reveals himself to be Halsin, the leader of the Emerald Grove. Now, in most playthroughs, this guy is pretty important. But in this one, I tell him to go away and he dies off screen. Unfortunately, there will be no bear sex this time around. The four of us regroup at camp, and the next day we are ready for a rematch. This time though, I have backup. I'm not gonna lie, I totally forgot I had this horn. Immediately, the trolls get to work. They dash towards this caged goblin, who is the only goblin who poses zero threat to us. In fact, this caged goblin is currently being persecuted by the rest of the goblins for being a religious minority. Tactically unsound, but kinda based. Mammal TV does not sanction or condone violence against religious minorities. We begin to chew through the weaker goblins. This cloak my butler gave me makes me turn invisible when I get the killing blow on someone, effectively turning me into an absolute unit. I'm like a bisexual ninja with a love for show tunes. Doesn't really make sense, but it doesn't have to, because I'm fucking shit up. Astarian subclass, the Way of the Drunken Master Monk, allows him to coat his fists in Jägermeister and punch his enemies. By doing this, there is a chance to get them drunk. And goddamn is it cool. Not power-wise, because this subclass is terrible and borderline useless. We take out Priestess Gut, and soon there is only one enemy left. Fank pushes Dror-Ragzlin into the spider pit. I also jump into the spider pit. Now it's just me versus Dror-Ragzlin. Also 2 man-eating spiders. I ready my shot. This is for almost ending my run. I reload my crossbow. It's been nice knowing you, true soul. Oh fuck, oh shit, I thought that was gonna kill him. Shit, fuck, don't kill me, please don't kill me, please don't kill me. Oh, thank God. My turn. Wait, play the music again. Here lies Dror-Ragzlin, the true soul who couldn't read, the hobgoblin consumed by greed, shot down by the light-skinned scourge, the one they call the Dark Urge. But the video isn't over, not yet. We have one last atrocity we can't leave uncommitted. We infiltrate the grove, and Zevlor seems relieved to see us. He tells us that goblins are massing in the woods. Somehow the goblins found them. I tell him that we are here to feast upon them, and then I dream of climbing a corpsed mountain. Pretty dark, but I fuck with it. Upon starting the fight, I get a notification that Will has permanently left my party. Oh no. Anyways, we blow the horn and summon our reinforcements. Larian, if these tieflings were supposed to be the final boss of Act 1, why are we tearing through them so easily? We kill the tieflings, we kill the druids, and then I go to talk to Minthara.
Hands bound. Ecstasy. Or terror. Maybe both.
At my camp, the goblins are throwing a rager to celebrate our victory. Pleased with my decisions, the god of the religious cult, the Absolute, rewards me with another brainworm. I begin to make the rounds, talking to my companions. Shadowheart is drinking heavily, or worshipping Shar, Lady of Liverloss if you prefer. Lae'zel shoots me down, and Astarian propositions me for sex. Now I can't show what happened that night. All I'll say is that the next morning, the Absolute felt I was deserving of another brainworm, if you know what I mean. Minthara tells me I must travel through the treacherous Underdark and meet her at the seat of the Absolute's power, Moonrise Towers. At Moonrise, there is one who waits for me.
You are a worthless, friendless, faggot-lipped little piece of shit whose mommy left daddy when she figured out he wasn't Eugene O'Neill, and who is now weeping and slobbering all over my drum set like a fucking 9-year-old girl.
But that's for next episode, if I actually do that.